Good morning, and I hope you've all had a lovely Christmas. Today I'm going to be talking to you all about leftovers and what you can do with those leftover pieces of turkey that you may have. Some of you may have budgeted or been exact in your quantities, but like many, I have turkey left over. So we're going to do a few dishes today, starting with turkey pies made with a hot watercress pastry. But first of all, I just want to point out one little thing. Now, scales. Scales, when you're baking, are the most important thing that you can have. My scales were, they worked, but the feet kept falling off, so Steve was always putting on new feet. So one of my Christmas presents, and I don't mind it at all. I'm not insulted, I'm not upset. I'm really pleased because these are really good scales, was this set of scales. So get yourself a decent set of kitchen scales. These weigh in volume, they'll give me the temperature of the things that are in here and everything. So, and always, if you can, weigh in grams, it's far more accurate. So let's start with our hot watercress pastry. What do we need? We need 160 ml of water, which is in there. We need 100 grams of lard, and we have 90 grams of butter. So I've got that all in there. I've chopped it up. The butter is the butter that you may have seen me make the other day. So all we do is plug in the machine so that it works, and put these on a low heat so that the butter and the lard melt. In here I have 400 grams of plain flour and a pinch of table salt, and I am just going to mix those together now. So just mixing that through, and we're just going to pop the butter, lard and water onto the hob. Get a handle, let's be safe. On we go. And I'm going to put this at the lowest that it will go, and just let the fats melt gently into the water. And once they're met, you can see that's on. You can see actually some of the butter is starting to melt already, but we shall come back when that is fully melted. Right then, as you can see, all the fats have melted into the water. Just making sure there's no little lumps, and there's not, so we shall switch that off. Remove that from the heat. Sorry. To stand it on, when we remove that from the heat, just swap the flour back over to here. And what we have to do now is just to slowly pour the fats and water into the flour and bring it all together, making sure you have no pockets of flour. So just mix it in. You may notice I've put on gloves because I have to handle this pastry mix, and yeah, strange enough, it is going to be warm. So right, so we mix that all in, and we'll come back when we're all mixed in. Well then, we're pretty much mixed through. I can see a few pockets of flour, so I'm going to keep mixing. It's very much like a choux pastry mix at this point. If you've ever made choux, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, right, that's everything come together. Now we need a little flour on our surface, and just spread it about a little and tip out the contents of the bowl. There you go, into a nice bowl, beautifully coming out like that. And then we are just going to work this pastry just a little. Don't want to overwork it, but we're again making sure that everything is all incorporated. Okay, there we are. Right, that's done. Now what we need to do is we need to wrap in cling film and chill. So that's going to go just in there. Keep it nice and flat. Don't want a ball necessarily. A cow pat, no, I shouldn't say that really, but you know, a splat of pastry. Right, that is wrapped. I'm actually going to double wrap it to make sure that everywhere is covered, because we don't want any of it drying out. And what we do with this is we pop it in the fridge for 2 hours, minimum of 2 hours. And then we'll have to get it out about 20 minutes before we actually want to use it, so that we can actually work the pastry. So we shall be back seeing what fillings we're going to put into these. I'm not sure if that came out. Okay then, onto our pie fillings. Now your pie fillings can be anything you have left over. You could put literally everything that you have left over into your pie, and that then would be what I call a Monday pie, and the Monday pie recipe is available on the page. But today I'm going to show you a couple of different fillings, and we're going to start with a turkey and vegetable pie. I'm not using huge quantities because I'm making individual pies, okay? Obviously if you want to make a big pie you would use more, and it's a case of eyeballing it, okay? You don't need to measure. So let's start by melting this butter. Sorry, I know you can't see it at the moment, can you? You can just hear me pressing buttons. So we're just melting the butter in there. And I'm just going to add just a drop of oil too. So as I've said before, it's butter for flavour, oil to stop the butter burning. Literally, I mean, you saw how much that was, and that was avocado oil I used. Right, so that's that melted. So we're going to go in with a few onions. Now I think onions are perfect. You need to have some. They just add that extra something to a dish. So just a few onions, or obviously if you're doing a big pie, then a load of onions. We're just going to cook those until they start to soften. Okay, they're softened, so we need a little aromat in there, and by aromat I mean a little garlic. So I'm just going to put some garlic in there. I'm going to get that moving because we don't want the garlic to burn. And once you can smell the garlic, that's when you can add something else in. You can smell the garlic. Okay, so now we're going to need some pepper. This is to taste. Remember, turkey is quite a bland meat, so you may have seasoned it before you cooked it, but it can always take more. So that's some salt and pepper gone in, and then I'm going in with a handful of mixed veg. Again, bigger pie, more veg. Right, and all we're doing is mixing these together. We're doing this because obviously being frozen veg, there will be some water leaching out, and we don't want that water in our crust, do we? So we'll just leave those for a minute and come back. Right, you may say, but Pen, you haven't added the turkey. No, I haven't. In there are just my vegetables, seasoning and gravy. I've not added the turkey because I don't want the turkey to be cooked too many times. These are going in the freezer uncooked, okay? So once this cools, I will add turkey to this. You'll see it, don't worry. We can now go on to our next filling. Right, then our next filling is going to be turkey and mushrooms. So yet again, I've got my butter and some oil on the hob, and then we're going to wait for that to melt, and we're going to add in the mushrooms. I'm just pushing it around so that the whole of the bottom of the pan is coated. Okay, move that to one side. I'm going to add just a few onions to this one because we don't want them to overpower. We want the predominant flavour to be the turkey and the mushrooms. So we'll just wait till they start to cook and we'll be back. Right then, as you can see, they're cooking away nicely, just starting to soften. So we're going to go in with our mushrooms. Now, I'm using chestnut mushrooms purely because that's what I had in the house. You can use ordinary mushrooms, you can use field mushrooms. I've just sliced, you could chop, you could slice, you can dice, it's entirely up to you. Pop your mushrooms in and allow those to cook. I'm going to leave them to cook and then I'll start moving them around. Right then, we're getting a little sizzle on there now, so I can move the mushrooms around. I'm also going to season, so in with the salty pepper again. I have actually put in a little bit of garlic in here too. Garlic and mushrooms really are quite a match made in heaven, aren't they? Right, and now for the sauce for this. It's going to be a white sauce, so I'm going to add in just a little flour to help make a roux. So, all keep your fingers crossed that this works. Okay, so in goes the flour, and then we have to cook the flour out for a couple of minutes. If you don't, you will get the taste of raw flour, which really isn't very pleasant. So once this is cooked, we'll be adding the milk. Okay, that's been 2 minutes. As you can see, you can't see any flour, it's all mixed in with the butter that was in there. I'm going to add a little bit of milk, and then we should get our sauce. Add it a little bit at a time to save getting any lumps and spending half your life, half your morning mixing. So you can go up with the temperature just a little and add in some more milk. Again, I'm doing this by eye. Generally, there is a white sauce recipe on the page, so if you Google that, you'll see how to make it. Okay. We want it a little, it's difficult to describe. I'll show you. Obviously I want to make sure it's loose enough because we don't want one lump or two, but then we want it to get thick enough that it won't ooze out of the pies as soon as we put them in. Now at this point you could put some chives in here, you could put some parsley, it's entirely up to you. I may add some chives to this once it's cooled down when I add the turkey. A little bit more milk because we want to make sure this is cooked, obviously. Right, and we are about there with the this sauce. And again, sorry, no turkey will be added until this is cooled, and then it goes into the pie, and therefore that turkey will just be cooked the once more. Okay, now if you wanted to cook the pies, freeze them and then reheat, that's entirely your choice. I'm not telling you you can't do that. I'm not telling you you must do that. So off with that, and this mix now goes into the bowl to cool. Right, and we will be back with our last pie filling in a moment. Our last pie filling, she says, hopefully, will be a true taste of your Christmas meal. So again, we're going in with a little butter into the pan and get that melted. We'll go in with just a little onion, just checking the fridge door shut. Okay, so we'll move this around to melt. So, little oil, a tiny splash of oil. Little oil, so the little butter, a tiny splash of oil, and in with some onions. Now, in with these onions, I'm going to put a couple of torn sage leaves. There we go, but sage and onion. What's better than sage and onion stuffing? I'll tell you, sage sausage meat and onion stuffing. So, oh, the smell of sage is just wonderful. Stock. Again, just to reiterate, this is going to be for individual pie, so I don't need lots of everything. So we're just going to let the onions soften. And we'll come back once they are. Right then, these are softened, so I'm actually going to switch off now, because everything that goes in here, it doesn't need any cooking, it just needs mixing. So we've got some leftover stuffing. This is just ordinary Paxo. So we're going to crumble in some stuffing. And then I have a sausage that I have cut up, a pork sausage, so we're going to pop that in. Unfortunately, I couldn't use the stuffing that I made because I sliced it all and froze it, and since this is going to be refrozen, not a good move. And then in with the sausage, and we're going to mix, and it's a little dry. What can we add? Well, I'll tell you what we can add. We can add some delicious homemade cranberry sauce, just to bring it all together. And when I say delicious, it really is. I mean, if you haven't got homemade, then use a jar. It'll be just as delicious. Well, it won't really, but it'll be nice. So what I need, this is still a little dry, so I'm going to add a touch of water, just so that we will have some liquid in the pastry. Right, and now we've mixed that together, we'll mix it through so that hopefully every bite will have cranberry, sage, onion, stuffing, sausage, and when it's cooled, obviously, the turkey. Right, so that's all. Chuck it over the floor. Oh well, what didn't go on the floor went on the side. Chef's perks. And that is 3 ideas for your leftover turkey pie. Now, when making the pies, let me look at you, sorry. When making the turkey pies, don't be tempted to just use all breast meat. Pies are a perfect way of using up that dark meat. So, as I say, once these are all cooled, I will add in the turkey meat and then we'll be making the pies. So, catch you in a bit. Hi, we're back again and my pastry has had its 2-hour rest and then 20 minutes out of the fridge. So I need to roll it out. Good job I checked, I'd left a spoon in there. Roll it out on a floured surface. I also have some little tins that I have greased. No need to line them, no need to flour them, just grease them. I've actually used lard because, strangely enough, I've used lard in the pastry anyway, but lard actually really does work well for greasing your tins. So all my fillings are cold, so I have added the turkey to them, and you'll see those in a minute. Now I'm cutting the pastry in half because it's easier to work with it like that rather than trying to roll out a huge lump of pastry. So I'm just mixing it and moulding it, and we'll come down and then we're going to roll out. If you give it at least a 20-minute rest out of the fridge after it's chilled, it really is a beautifully easy to roll pastry. As you can see, I do a quarter turn each time as well, just so that, excuse me, I know that everything, it's only being rolled in the same direction. That's something I was taught at senior school many years ago. More years ago than some of you that are watching this, to be quite fair. So I'm going to roll it out quite thinly, but not wafer thin, but we do want it to have some body. Okay, so that's rolling out. I'll come back on the cutter. So we have our turkey and mushroom in a creamy sauce. We have our turkey stuffing, sausage and cranberry pie, and we have our vegetables and turkey in gravy pie. All I need to do now is to cut out the lids, put them on, and we'll assemble. And just to make sure, I've squeezed them down, squeezed the two bits together, but just to make sure, I'm just going to go around with a fork, squeezing the top part of the pastry to the bottom part, just so that we're sure that they're going to stick together. I mean, a little leakage is inevitable with a properly filled pie, and we don't mind a little leakage, but let's, you know, hopefully we don't lose all our filling by doing this. There we go. And you know what, I can't remember what pie is what, but I can see that this one is the turkey and the stuffing. So what we need to do now is to make a little hole in the top of each pie so that the steam can escape, and then we need to brush each pie with an egg wash. So I'm sure you've seen it all done before, but I'm going to be quite generous with my egg wash. There we go. One. and 3. And I'm just going to make sure that I haven't clogged up that hole that I made for the steam to escape with the egg by just making sure there. Now these, let's come up, these can be cooked today. I would personally, because I've been handling the pastry a bit, I'd put them in the oven in the fridge for 30 minutes, and then I'd put them in a 190C oven until the pastry is golden. Remember, the filling is cooked, so we just want 190C till nice and golden. And there we are, 3, I can't hold all 3, can I? Yes I can. 3 different pie ideas for your leftover turkey. We have turkey, sausage meat, or sausages, stuffing and cranberry. We have a turkey and mushroom in a white sauce. And we have turkey and vegetables in gravy. So I hope you do give this recipe a go. If you do, please comment down below your thoughts on the recipe. Comment down below anything, quite frankly, even if, don't be rude, about the recipe or how you would do it. Mine are going to go into the freezer, and then I can either cook from frozen at a lower temperature for longer or defrost and then cook, so it doesn't matter what you do. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video by giving a thumbs up. If you're liking what I'm doing, the bell down there, click on it to subscribe. That way you'll get notified every time I put on a new video. And I'd like to say thank you very much for being in the kitchen with Pen. Bye bye.